Hey, welcome everyone. It is Frida, your tinnitus coach. And I'm also the founder of our online 12-week tinnitus habituation program at mytinnitus.club. In today's episode, I have something very, very special for you. You've all known her before, and many of you have shared that her struggle has resonated a lot with you. So today I want to welcome back on the channel Petra from Canada. She has previously been on this channel before, talked about her successes, her burdens, her problems with her tinnitus, and today she shares something very valuable, some insights from her habituation strategy, from our community inside the club, but more importantly, some really, really important insights that I hope will resonate as well with you as they did the last time. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you always stay up to date and get always informed on the latest tinnitus videos that come out every week. Otherwise, I invite you to check out the link in the description below. I have a free 4-day email course for you, as well as the link to our 12 weeks tinnitus habituation program. But without further ado, let's welcome Petra here to this longer form interview on her tinnitus habituation and relief journey, and I hope it's going to be a very useful one for you, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, hi and welcome back everyone here to the channel and the podcast, wherever you're tuning in from. Today I'm very excited to have someone back on here who you all met already, probably either through being a member of the community or through having watched a couple of videos on my YouTube channel. Petra was in here for a longer form interview, I think about a year ago, but now we have Petra back here. She has a little bit more of her story to tell, and we're super excited. So Petra, very warm welcome here, and yeah, just briefly maybe introduce yourself and your story a little bit to the listeners.
Sounds great, and thanks for having me back. So I'm Petra, and I live in Calgary, Canada. So very northern part of the world here. We're still experiencing some winter, but hopefully spring is coming soon. I wanted to share a little bit about my journey since I've been here. I've been with the community now over 2 years, and just wanted to share sort of like when I started on this journey 2 years ago and how, like, the position that I was in and then where I am today, especially for those new people that, are just kind of starting on this tinnitus journey, which can be very, very challenging. So yeah, 2 years ago, I was in a very dark place with my tinnitus, and just, I think like most people, when you first get it, it's kind of very shocking. And then you kind of go into like fight and flight kind of mode. So I definitely had that fight and flight response, and I really think it was like kind of a trauma as well. Like it was just so intense. I mean, the emotions, the sound, just this thing that it's in your head suddenly that's never been before. So yeah, it puts you in this fight and flight stage.
Yeah.
So
I just want to put in there, like, and this is really, really, really important for people to remember when they say like, hey, I'm having a huge setback, right? Like, to address this now, to say like, well, yes, of course you have a setback, because like you're afraid of all of this happening again, and which is like almost a traumatic event for you, like, not sleeping, having this constant fight or flight reaction, feeling like your life is completely destroyed. It's quite normal that when you feel like you have a setback, and when this old cocktail of emotions is coming back, that you wish to avoid it at all costs, right? Sorry for bulging in there, and it's amazing to see you, to have had you join our club already so long ago. You're nearly an inception member, so since its inception nearly, there's a lot of changes at the moment, but I'm so happy that you're still part of this journey and that you're willing to share your journey with people as well. So already a big thanks for that.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, thank you. I mean, the club really was, the turning point for me and kind of a lifesaver. So just connecting with you, connecting with the members inside the club. Some members have been there as long as me as well, and they really helped me through my journey. So without that support, I don't think I'd be where I am today. And then especially implementing the ACT therapy, just going through that whole process of acceptance. I know I felt like, at the time, it's like you always feel like you're the 1% that cannot habituate. So I always felt like, oh, everyone else's tinnitus can't be as loud as mine, right? So you have those thoughts inside your head, and it's like, I'm going to be that 1% that isn't going to habituate. And it took me a long time to stop my internal story that was going in my head because
Mm-hmm.
I was really fighting with it for so, so long. Like I think even a year in, I was still like telling myself the same story and like fighting with it and
Mm-hmm.
not really accepting, that this was my new life. Because I used to look at like, there was life before tinnitus and then life with tinnitus. So that itself put me into kind of a depressed kind of state because you think, oh, well, I used to be normal and now I'm not normal.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's like a pretty, it's so important what you said, because you said, you have that kind of story. I'm the 1% who can't. And then, I talk so much about the thoughts, the emotions, and then that recurring cycle. And of course, the story in and of itself is the threat and the danger, not even the tinnitus itself, but the story, I'm part of the 1% of the people who cannot habituate. That story is so much more dangerous than the sound that you're experiencing, right? Because the sound is a sound, and yes, I remember and I know that you have a lot of fluctuations, a lot of like different
Mhm.
days where it gets better and worse and better and worse, and then like a lot of steps back. But in the end, like what's so important is that you say in acceptance and commitment therapy, saying, this is the story and this is your story. And, also questioning that story. What does it mean 1% of the people can't habituate? Like who says that? And who walks after these people for the rest of their life, looking at whether they really habituated or whether they really never did? And I do believe like 100% of people can habituate if they learn the right kinds of ways of approaching tinnitus, and learning that, the obstacle is not even the sound, not even the loudness, not the intrusiveness. It's obviously a little bit harder to, go and accept and go with the emotions and thoughts that come with it. The perceived louder the intensity, but it's also a perception that is based on so many different factors, such as being in the fight or flight or being constantly stressed, right? So this is all something like this morning I had someone a comment on my YouTube channel, and they said to me like, yeah, but it seems like you don't have severe tinnitus. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what is it? What is even severe? How severe should tinnitus be if you're deaf on one ear, if you have a hearing aid and your hearing is shite on the remaining other ear? What do you think is severe in this case? I mean, for me, it's pretty severe because I can pretty much hear it everywhere, but it's not severe from in terms of my emotional reaction. I couldn't care less in terms of my emotional reaction. Therefore, it's not severe. So I was thinking like, hey, yesterday I had an afternoon with my friends and we are out. Did I hear my tinnitus? I'm sure that if I had paid attention to it, 100%, there's a playground with 100 kids screaming. If I had paid attention to it, I would have heard it 100%. But did I actually hear it? I don't think so. At least I don't remember.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And like you said, mine is it does fluctuate. So I'm a little OCD, so I'm still tracking my tinnitus and the days. So I kind of track it as like, these green days or red days, green days being, those days where I don't really perceive it. It doesn't bother me. So it's really cyclical. It like goes up and down. And I found, I can tend to still get on that emotional roller coaster with it.
Hmm.
But I am learning, I think this is my last hurdle, is, getting to the place where habituation is, it doesn't matter whether it's a green day or a red day. So you're just continuing with life as before. So you're no longer so affected. I mean, those red days, I mean, I think it's going to happen with, at least in my case, I've kind of accepted now, like I'm always going to have a spike day. But then I kind of look at, well, some people have migraines, right? Or some people have something else. And this just happens to be my thing now.
Mm,
And things happen in life. Like life is never perfect. And I used to think, life should be perfect, but it's
mm,
not. And it's sort
mm,
of how I make life into being perfect. So
mm.
even despite I have tinnitus, like I guess what I'm trying to say is like 2 years ago, I didn't think I could have a life anymore. Like my life was over and I can't live with this. So I had a lot of those negative kind of thought patterns. And today I'm just like, yeah, life is good, even with tinnitus. And in some respects, life is even better. I mean, tinnitus in itself has given me some gifts, which is hard for people to see in the beginning, but it's shown me how to be more empathetic. It's shown me how to, help others. It connected me with some amazing people, especially in the community. And that's one thing I really like about your community is that it's not a place to go and where everyone is kind of ranting how horrible this thing is, but it's a place where we're lifting each other up. We're giving each other positive messages, like you can do this. Yes, it's difficult, it's challenging, but this can be done. And those messages especially in the beginning, were just vital for me because I was really stuck in this mind loop of depression and sadness and especially frustration and anxiety. And
It's so normal to be in there when no one comes
yeah.
from the outside and says there is also another place. It's totally understandable that you are in this place, but there is also another place which you at the time can absolutely not see. There's no way that you can see it when you are constantly, bombarded by these thoughts and these emotions, tormented with that noise. How will you see another perspective? You won't get it from your maybe partner or spouse because they might not suffer from tinnitus, or maybe no other person close to you suffers from it and might be able to guide you. So we need that outside perspective to, put it into perspective so that your brain learns you don't have to constantly be on fight or flight. Other people have also been there and they've gotten out of it, and you will also get out of it. And here's sort of like some different tools. So now I want to share two things. The first one is for your spike days, and I think what you said is really, really important. It's not only spike days, but also people without tinnitus and other conditions have bad days in their life. And I think a really valuable thing here is what we also do in the community, right, is self-compassion. So all these different elements that we combine into a program that really applies to certain elements of your tinnitus journey to really wholeheartedly learn what you can do for yourself when you're going through a difficult period. And the second thing that I want to say is, I think one of the biggest reasons why this community hasn't, until now, grown as much as I would have liked it to see over the first 2.5 years, is the perception that online communities are always linked with negative and more exposure with your tinnitus, and that's exactly what people are trying to avoid. Now I say, you need to expose yourself more to your thoughts and emotions around your tinnitus and learn from people that you have nothing to fear from them. Not from tinnitus, but from your thoughts and emotions. And therefore, you've probably seen it over the last couple of weeks. We had a few times where I said, okay, look, these are the guidelines and the rules. If you have frustration, it's absolutely normal, but please look at, okay, what is it really? Is it your anxiety? Are you sad that you can't sleep? What's your current biggest frustration? And if you tell us that, we can give you actionable advice instead of saying, this is the most terrible thing ever. What happened to me? I will never be able to go on anymore, blah, 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 blah. That helps no one. It doesn't even help you. In the first moment, it feels like you get a little bit of weight off, but then afterwards, you haven't gone anywhere with it. So really to get constructive and to really go in and get that feedback from people in the community. And I think that's what you were sharing as well, yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that was one of the hardest things in the beginning for me to get over or actually understand that it's the emotional aspect and like, not even the thoughts, but your subconscious thoughts behind it. So tinnitus actually showed me, and I kind of call it like my dark night of the soul.
Mm.
Um, I'm kind of spiritual, and I look at, this as being one of my biggest challenges in life that kind of forced me to look deeper inside of me and look at where is like where is all this anxiety and fear coming from? Yes, tinnitus sparked it, but I think tinnitus was also trying to show me that there's something deeper inside me that needed to be healed.
Mm,
Tinnitus or no tinnitus, it was it was this fear and anxiety I had deep, deep down that needed to come to the surface in order to heal. And now I'm able, because I used to have panic attacks and I used to, I would like, in all honesty, I would be sitting, in my room crying and like sitting in a ball and thinking like I can't go outside, I can't join the world. And then I just started looking at the thoughts behind my thoughts. And I realized, like, oh my gosh, I'm actually a very, like, I had a lot of negativity.
mm,
Like, the glass is half empty versus the glass is half full.
mm,
And it started showing me that it wasn't just the tinnitus where these thoughts were present, it was kind of in my daily life. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to kind of lighten up in a way and see the world from a different perspective. So it kind of pulled me out of this fear and subconscious thoughts of just, this negativity, which I think we all can have. I mean, it's life and it can be normal.
yeah.
But when it kind of like pulls you out of it and makes you recognize that that's been sitting there for, I had a very stressful job. I was working in marketing. I didn't do the self-care that I needed to do. And even when I got tinnitus, I didn't take time off. I didn't like do that self-compassion that I was, discovered in the community and with ACT. Like that's such an important piece as well. So I started looking at self-compassion and being more compassionate to myself as well.
Mm. I think what you say is very valuable, and of course, it's very difficult for people to see at the start of the journey that there will be positives and negatives. That life is never only black and white. There's always a million variations and opportunities and things in there, and it's never easy. It will never be easy, no matter whether you have tinnitus or not. There will also be a lot of other things involved. And I shared this like a lot in my podcast or YouTube channel as well with my personal story. You guys seen it all with my burnout, with my panic last year and everything and my anxiety last year as well. So, in
Mhm.
the end, that also needed to surface because a lot of my things were, yes, of course, driven by by holistic desire of helping people all over the world with the community and stuff, but other fears and other anxieties of not being visible and not being able to do what I love and just not making it really in a way that needed to come to surface and really like enabled me to really do some deeper work with my therapist and getting better with this condition and also look at all the anxiety. So now I can say on the one hand, I'm a lot more relaxed and feeling a lot better than I did the last 7 years or 8 years even. On the other hand, there are moments in which I'm a lot more anxious, but only because I acknowledge that anxiety is a part of my existence and it's normal, right? And it's a human, it's part of the human experience, and I don't have to deny this anxiety because then it always is subliminally there, and it will just like shoot out at certain random moments, and I would be like, where is this coming from? I'm not an anxious person usually. Whereas now I know, hey, certain things give me anxiety. I'm a human being. That's totally normal. So I know how to manage it now, and then I know what to do next. So we're deviating a little bit off this topic, but like you wanted to share anyways that there are a few things that helped you on this journey, and it's never only tinnitus related because we've already talked about it. The tinnitus is that experience of that physiological sound that moderates, sometimes changes up and down, etc. But that much more we're managing our thoughts and emotions around it. And if we get trapped in the thought process and we think that's reality, then of course that's a really, really cruel and harsh reality. But we can learn that there's an alternative reality as well that we basically only need to make available to us through, for example, ACT or self-compassion.
Yeah. I think just becoming aware of those feelings and the anxiety and fears and depression. Like I never thought I was that kind of person. And then it happened to me. And I thought, wow, like I didn't realize my brain could go this dark or my mind could be like this dark. And
Yeah.
I understand people now, when they say like they struggle with, maintaining a sense of balance and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So at that point, I mean, I also was on a mission. So I decided to try everything possible to kind of cure this tinnitus. So I was still, this was like over a year ago now, where I had the thought, well, I got to try everything to kind of see if, I can make this better.
Mm.
So I went on this kind of roller coaster ride as well, where, and I think most people do this, they need to try everything before they accept it, maybe. So whether it's diet, whether it's vitamins, like I tried so many vitamins, changing the diet, like, and then meditation, and then I even went to like alternative therapies. I tried ketamine therapy, which I know is also used for depression, but what I discovered was, I mean, it was amazing because ketamine has the ability of taking you outside your emotional state. So it gave me this sense of relief of my own emotions and my own self. So at the same time, because I wasn't caught in the emotions, I also had this sense of relief from the sound itself.
Mm.
But then I wanted to do ketamine regularly, like kind of once a week, because it was such a like a break from myself in a sense. And then I realized, yeah, but that like this is great while I'm on it, but I was not still able to handle it when, I was back to baseline and back to AK normal.
Yeah.
I was still having all the dark emotions. So, yes, it helped in a way to recognize that there's a place inside where I could like detach from those emotions, but I still needed the tools to be able to do so. And I think that's where the ACT, and a lot of the exercises in, from the happiness trap, there's different tools that you include in the community and resources, have helped along the way. And I think those are the things, where you build your baseline of tools and you've got those tools in your pocket so that, because I can't sit here and say, I never get depressed, right? I do. I still have those days where it like does look kind of dark, but now I have tools in the pocket that I can use. So I don't dive so deeply down. I
Yeah.
don't go into that deep dark space I used to be, and I'm able to handle it and
Yeah.
I'm able to move forward with life in a
Yeah.
much lighter way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do know that there's a lot of research on alternative therapies also for therapy-resistant depression. I'm taking SSRIs since last year. I've never thought that I would, but I
Yeah.
started and it feels a lot better. Like I have to probably also acknowledge that depression runs in my family. Probably, if I look back, knowing my grandpa, like, sometimes as soon as he got retired and he didn't have a job anymore, you could see like sometimes he's just like slouch away the day on the sofa, and I didn't think much by it, right? It was just, he's just tired, he's old, but he probably had some kind of depression as well, or probably also for a longer period of time. Especially these people, my grandma, she came from what was back then Germany, but is now Russia, and they fled in a horrible -20, -30 degree winter from the Russians coming and the Russian Nazi war and stuff like that. So it was just an insane experiences, traumatic experiences that we probably can't really imagine nowadays. And that what that does to a person, and that we also know that it gets sometimes trauma is inherited, right, and passed down in genetics. So we do know that we're dealing with a generation of traumatized people because they all witnessed the Second World War, right? And there were only only one World War before, and then that was insane from a scale and perspective, right? So what I'm saying here is. There are a lot of research on what to do with people who have therapy-resistant depression, meaning that the conventional medication like SSRIs, etc., are not working to treat their depression sufficiently. Some of those people maybe have a metabolic problem that you can't really go above and beyond the usual safe and recommended doses, but their liver or kidneys are processing the medication way too way too quickly in order for enough to arrive in the brain and to really increase the amount of serotonin available in the brain. And on the other hand, we also see that, there's tons of research in the US at very renowned universities, also here in Germany, for alternative treatments, such as with medicinal mushrooms or ketamine therapy. But all of them, also LSD therapy, we've seen for ayahuasca, all of these things, they are only for you to be able to see outside of that dark hole you're in, that you see it's still there. It's never going to solve all your problems. Same with the SSRIs. It's enabling the amount of serotonin to be increased in your brain. Doesn't mean that you can't still be depressed and anxious. It's just enabling you to feel better on a general basis. But the real work, for example, that I'm, for example, also doing in 2 therapy sessions a week, is what you need to do in order to, combine this dark place with what you've seen under this treatment and somehow get into the middle of like establishing, okay, what kinds of points, and that's what we have in the program, right? The ACT, the self-compassion, certain other things, CBT, how to, get better with sleeping again, all of these kind of like little things that you need to piece together, value-based living, in order to see, okay, I mean, that great place is still there, right? I don't always need ketamine for it to see it, but that place is still there, but I'm often still here in my day-to-day life, so I need something in order to combine that. And I'm so happy to hear that you found ACT very valuable in that, because that's been very, very helpful for me and for most of the people that I've been working with over the past 6 years as well.
I think you hit on something, because that was the mistake I made in the beginning with trying these alternative things, because I had the expectation that it was going to be the cure.
Yeah.
So there was something within, let's say, the ketamine that would, change my neuroplasticity, and it would be the cure. So I would wake up and it would be gone. But then I realized, I mean, yes, ketamine, it can help, and it's not for everybody. And I definitely recommend, talk about it with your psychologist or doctor or whatever, if it's something that can be right for you.
Yeah.
But it did show me this new path, and just recognizing that the, whether I think it's SSRIs or whatever, that's not the cure. There is a cure, and the cure is in your head. It's
Yeah.
how you're reacting.
Yeah.
It's a mindset. And I realized that it is my approach that needs to change.
Yeah.
It is my storyline that, because I have this, I'm going to suffer for the rest of my life. And as soon as I changed that storyline, I started getting better. I mean, it took time, and you need patience, and you need to, practice, utilize the things from your toolkit. And that in itself, which I guess is habituation, is kind of the cure, because, there are days now where, I will go through my day, and then I will suddenly stop and realize, oh my gosh, I have no masking sounds on in my environment, which I used to like. I was addicted to sound. So I was addicted to these, like I have this little speaker,
Yeah.
and I had the rain sounds playing nonstop, constantly, because that would soothe my anxiety. And it took me a long time to like separate myself from, because I realized I was addicted to that sound as a soothing place. And now, like right now, if I think about it, like the room around is silent outside of our conversation. And that to me is a huge win. It's a huge win, because it's returned the aspect of what is silence. Because I think that's another thing that, tinnitus people go through in terms of, the step by steps of the process. Like I had a grieving process of, not being able to hear silence anymore. It was almost like a death. And I had to go through these steps, and I had to grieve for my silence. But now it's like, okay, what exactly is silence? We really don't have, there's always kind of sounds around in our environment. So it's just this whole perspective shifted for me. And that was another huge thing that kind of was a turnaround.
it's like confirming to yourself that, you know, we all like silence and this concept attached to it of like true and pure relaxation. And
Mm-hmm.
and for me, it's and that's what I talked to Glenn Schweitzer from Rewiring Tinnitus about as well. And he shared that how he was able to habituate so quickly is that he gets into these deep states of total relaxation. The deep states of
Mm-hmm.
meditative relaxation, they are absolutely non-dependent on the existence or absence of sound. If we see
Yeah.
that small children, like you take them to your birthday party and they pass out at 9 p.m. because they're so tired, they can sleep in the middle of the sofa where everyone's drinking, chatting, partying, like they don't give an F. They
Yeah.
pass out and sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't need the absence of any sounds in order to be calm and relaxed. It is our thought construct around the tinnitus, unfortunately, and this is like I say it in so many of my videos, how it starts when we run to the ENT or the audiologist and then informs our anxiety with, okay, there's nothing we can do, just go home and don't try to stress out, which stresses us
Yeah.
out even more. Or we go to Google about it, or we go to
Yeah.
certain forums, and then it's just filled with negativity, and this fight or flight just gets worse and worse. And you know that like that in and of itself often is the core problem. So that creating that kind of core problem from which you never really bounce back, and it can take years for you to come out of that, instead of learning that, you know, the silence that you're looking for is actually still there, because it's
Yeah.
not dependent on the absence of tinnitus or any noise. It is a concept of relaxation and true contentness in the moment, and that you can still have exactly even with tinnitus.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't believe it 2 years ago. But today I'm like, yeah, okay, I think I get it. And I think I am confident now that habituation is possible and is a thing, and that habituation is kind of like, maybe cure isn't the right word, but I mean, if you're not paying attention to it, and I mean, it's like life is normal again. And I think that's the key message I wanted to share today, like with people, that have tinnitus, and especially are in the beginning of the journey, like it does get better. You might not believe it at the time, which I didn't believe at the time, but it does get better and life returns, and it does take work. Like you have to do that inner work. Um, but there are rewards at the end of that journey. And I am so glad that like today I can say that, I enjoy life. I love life, even despite tinnitus. And
I
I
love that.
mean, life will always have its ups and downs, right? And this was just one of those challenges on my, sort of, I like to call dark night of the soul journey. Um, but I went through it. I mean, the only way out is through. You have to go through it.
Yeah,
And then it's like a light at the end of the tunnel.
I love that because, you know, I remember the light at the end of the tunnel was already in the first interview that we did. And
Yeah,
I
that's
think you
right.
said the light of the tunnel, the community, and this was the light at the end of the tunnel. And
Yeah.
I'm so happy to see that you're finally getting much closer. So you've progressed through your tunnel, and the light is getting bigger and bigger, and that's so important. And you know, the only other thing that I can add to, you know, doing this work and experiencing for yourself, your nervous system and
Mm,
your subconscious have to experience that you are safe in the presence of tinnitus. This is so important. That's why I can only repeat this, but I don't believe in people, and especially audiology in the biggest, you know, in Germany we have the chronic guidelines for tinnitus treatment. They say, okay, masking and sound therapy are not really relevant tools that we prescribe people with tinnitus, because what we
mm,
need for them to learn and their nervous system to learn is that they're safe despite the presence of tinnitus. Of course, we
mhm.
should look at organic things, maybe postural issues, etc. That's all absolutely true. But you know, prescribing people thousands of dollars worth of hearing aids if they don't really need hearing aids because they don't have a hearing loss, just for masking or a
Yeah.
sound therapy program or some other herbal remedies or all that BS that's out there for tinnitus is just, you know, prolonging the journey. Because as you said, you try all of these different things and in the end it doesn't work and your frustration grows bigger and bigger. Then that traumatic amount of stress that sits in your body becomes like a bigger and bigger thing, which of course makes it even makes your brain pay even more attention to tinnitus, and suddenly you find yourself in this massive pile of dark stuff
Crap.
that you have no idea how to get out of again. Yeah.
Yeah, that big pile of crap.
Absolutely,
Emotional.
and there is no other way out of it than like learning what it's made out of, right? And one of my favorite Buddhist monks, Thich Nhat Hanh, says, you can't grow the lotus flower without the mud.
Yes, I mean, actually, that describes it perfectly. You have to like sit in that mud, be in that mud, and then, you know, look at it and deal with it. And then that blossom happens. That flower grows out of that mud.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Petra, I wanted to ask you one final thing, and I think this has been really, really valuable, not only for the people watching and listening to this, but for me also personally, because you agreed to come on again and share your story again, and also helping more people understand why it is so relevant and why they shouldn't just go for hearing aids, or why they shouldn't just go for some herbal remedies or stuff, but they really should consider, for example, also signing up to our program, checking it out, and really getting in there and not being afraid that it will make their tinnitus worse, but the other way around,
Yes.
learning that they can be in a safe space with people, that they're not alone in their journey, that they can meet amazing people such as yourself from all over the world to really work together on habituating, but that none of us had the magical pill for one individual, but that we all work together to find out plans and routes for every individual on there. So, if I could just ask you one last thing, is like, what do you think in terms of like a journey? Because you also know that, I'm recently restructured a little bit towards the 3-month course. I think that we'll see a lot of new members coming in because, we're doing it in a lot more guided way. For you, what was the most valuable and the biggest thing that you think you've learned inside the club, or what do you think will new people most appreciate who come into the program?
I think definitely just, understanding what ACT is. So the different steps within it, the self-compassion and the acceptance, and the steps to take, to get your mindset there. So that was key.
Yeah.
And then having those weekly calls, I mean, those were vital in the beginning because we're not only connecting with you, we're connecting with other members in the community who are going through, what you've been through, and everyone understands. And everyone's, story is a little bit different, but at the end of the day, we've all kind of gone through the same kind of thing. And then having you being able to, address everyone individually has been super helpful. And I know as the community grows, we have a larger community and the group calls are bigger. So I think, having that first intro 3-month kind of program, especially as a beginner, would be super helpful because it gets you into that mindset. And then the buddy system, which is where we, connect with another member of the community, and we kind of hold each other accountable during the week. So if we struggle or we have a success story, we have a buddy that we can share our wins and challenges with. So that's been super helpful. I love the buddy system. And then the different challenges. I know we had last year we had a spring challenge and that kind of thing. So that really helps holding you accountable and, kind of enables you to do the exercises and not to lose track. But above all, it's just really the community and the people and being with people that have gone through it and can help you and are supportive. And it's a very, very positive community. So it was a lifesaver for me, definitely. And I mean, I'm still in the community 2.5 years later, and I have no intention of leaving because it's just such a great support.
And we have no intention of seeing you leave, but of course, I say I'm beyond grateful for you doing this for me and for us. And I think the community is already bigger than myself. It's already what you said. It's not only I mean, I still do my one-on-one coachings as well on the side
Yeah.
with many people, but the community has literally grown bigger than just myself. The community has grown into a self-help resources, and I think that's the biggest empowerment on the face of people saying, oh, they don't do enough for us, for people with tinnitus. No, we can do all of this ourselves and organize us into groups such as this one and come together. And yeah, maybe I did share a program that, everyone gets up to speed up to a certain level, and then we can, when they are through that program, then everyone's on a similar level, and then really the core work is done, and then it's about implementing. And I think that really is super valuable. So thank you for sharing all of this.
And maybe if I just interject, I want to say one last thing, because I want to point out that, like, I'm not trying to push the community because, it's a success story for me, but it's really like your authenticity and integrity is felt. Like, it's really felt with the members, with myself. Like, you want to help people. You are coming from a very integral place. And that sort of, exudes through the community. And I just wanted to share that last little bit and thank you for being authentic and, putting this together, because this is needed. Like, there's a lot of communities and resources out there now. But to me, when I discovered the tinnitus club, it was just like this is the place. This is the community. This is integral. Has a value system that is in line with my values. And it's yeah. It's just anyone I recommend just checking Frieder and his community out. It's just authentic. It really is. So sorry I interrupted you there.
No, it's all good. I mean, thank you so much again for doing this, Petra. And I'm sure that, maybe in a year's time, we'll have another final interview. So then we have a 3-part series. And
I like that.
I'm really also proud of yourself, because I am proud of you, because you said, like, not only because it was a success story for me, yes, it's turning into a success story. But for a long period of time, it wasn't a success story for you. And you will confirm that to me. And you are turning it into a success story with the help of many people and many tools and many things. And the community is part of it. And I'm not even only patting my back, but everyone's back who is in the community. So, for me, you say now it turns into a success story. Yes, but it's not been a success story. It's turning into a success story because you've done the work, you've showed up, and you have stood up and shown the courage to yourself to go through this and to take it on.
That's true. It's been a ride.
Yeah.
And yes, the 3rd part next year, and I'll talk about being fully habituated.
I love that. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Okay.
Awesome.
Petra. Then thank you very much for coming on today again. I think the listeners will really value this, and everyone who's watching or listening, please leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Inside the club, you can connect with me and Petra, of course, at mytinnitus.club. And Petra, I want to give you the last word because you made it today, and thank you so much. So have the last word on the video or the podcast.
Just know that there is that light at the end of the tunnel, and it might appear small in the beginning, but it grows and grows, and there is life with tinnitus. Absolutely.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Petra. I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So if you did enjoy this video, then it would be amazing if you could leave me a comment. Let us know, me and Petra, what you thought about our interview. Let us know what your current struggles with tinnitus are. Of course, please subscribe to this channel. It helps me grow and helps more people on their habituation journey. As I mentioned in the intro already, you can join my 4-day email course for free. You get it under habituate.online, or simply click the link in the resources below. And the second thing that I want to invite you to is to check out our 12 weeks online tinnitus habituation course at mytinnitus.club. Thank you very much for checking it out. I hope it's been very beneficial for you. I hope it helped you a little bit on your road to tinnitus habituation, and I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy.